Alien women invited me in her home and closed the door behind. The aquarium encounter. The city aquarium after closing hours held a particular magic that Marcus Chen had always cherished. His security clearance for botanical research granted him access to these quiet moments when only the gentle hum of filtration systems and the ethereal glow of tanks filled the vast halls. Tonight, he was documenting how certain aquatic plants responded to the lunar cycle, his camera capturing the delicate dance of leaves in artificial currents. He rounded the corner into the jellyfish gallery and stopped abruptly. Someone else was there. She stood before the largest tank, bathed in pulsating blue light that made her skin seem to shimmer with its own luminescence. Her hair fell in waves the color of deep water, and she wore a flowing dress that moved like liquid around her graceful frame. Marcus found himself transfixed not just by her beauty, but by the way she observed the creatures, as if she understood their silent language. "They're homesick," she said without turning, her voice melodic with an accent he couldn't place. "Can you see it in how they pulse? They remember deeper waters." Marcus approached slowly, his botanist's curiosity piqued. "I've never thought of jellyfish as having memory." She turned then, and her eyes caught him completely, deep and shifting like ocean trenches, holding mysteries he suddenly wanted to explore. A small smile curved her lips. Everything remembers where it comes from, even if it can never return. They talked for over an hour, moving between exhibits as she introduced herself as Lyria Venn, a marine biologist on temporary assignment. Her knowledge seemed impossibly vast, and the way she spoke of ocean depths suggested she'd witnessed them firsthand in ways no submarine could achieve. Marcus shared his work with urban ecosystems, and she listened with an intensity that made him feel truly seen. "I have a private collection at my apartment," Lyria said finally, her gaze holding his with unmistakable invitation. "Specimens and phenomena I can't display publicly. Would you like to see something truly extraordinary?" Marcus hesitated only a heartbeat before nodding, already knowing he would follow her anywhere. Crossing the threshold. The waterfront building looked ordinary enough from the outside, an old converted warehouse with industrial charm. But as Lyria led Marcus up the private elevator, he noticed subtle oddities. The buttons glowed with symbols he didn't recognize, and the air seemed to hum with energy that made his skin tingle. "I don't entertain often," Lyria said softly as the elevator doors opened directly into her loft. "In fact, you're the first person I've invited inside." The space took his breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the harbor, but it was the interior that defied explanation. Suspended tanks of impossible geometry held creatures that seemed to shift between states of matter. Walls rippled with projected images of underwater landscapes far more alien than Earth's oceans. Strange instruments hummed quietly, and the air itself tasted of salt and something sweeter, like night-blooming jasmine mixed with ozone. Lyria moved through the space with fluid grace, and Marcus noticed for the first time how her skin caught the light with an iridescent quality, pearl-like and mesmerizing. She turned to face him, and he heard the door close behind them with a definitive click. She whispered something in a language that sounded like water over stones, and the lock engaged with a sound that felt heavier than mechanics, like a seal, a promise, a point of no return. "Marcus," she said, her ocean-deep eyes searching his face with sudden vulnerability, "I need to be honest with you. I'm not entirely what I've pretended to be." He should have been afraid. Instead, he found himself stepping closer, drawn by the raw emotion in her voice. "What are you?" "Someone very far from home," she whispered. "Someone who has spent months studying your species' capacity for connection while remaining utterly alone. Someone who has never felt what I feel when I look at you." Her hand reached out, fingers trembling slightly as they touched his cheek. Where her skin met his, warmth bloomed, and he saw faint patterns of light trace beneath her skin like bioluminescent creatures in deep water. "Show me," Marcus breathed. "Show me who you really are." Unveiled truths. Lyria stepped back, and as she did, the disguise she'd maintained began to soften. Her skin revealed its true nature, smooth and lustrous with a subtle aquamarine undertone that shimmered like mother-of-pearl. Delicate patterns traced along her collarbones and down her arms, glowing softly with inner light. Her eyes deepened to the color of the midnight ocean, flecked with stars that seemed to swirl in their depths. "I'm from Thalassine," she said quietly. "A world almost entirely covered in water, orbiting a star you call Tau Ceti. We've been observing Earth for generations, but I'm the first to live among you, to try to understand what makes humanity so vibrant. Marcus found himself reaching out, his fingers hovering just above her luminescent skin. "May I?" She nodded, and when his hand touched her arm, he felt warmth and vitality, the steady rhythm of her pulse beneath. She was utterly real, utterly alive, and utterly captivating. "Your emotions," Lyria continued, her voice thick with feeling. "The way you love, create, hope, even grieve, it's so intense compared to my people. We're contemplative, peaceful, but we've lost something in our long evolution. Watching you in the aquarium tonight, the passion you have for your work, the way you see beauty everywhere." She paused, her hand covering his. "I haven't felt this alive in all my years of existence." "How long have you been here?" Marcus asked. 8 months. "And in that time, I've documented hundreds of human interactions, studied countless relationships. But I've remained separate, observing. Until tonight." Her fingers intertwined with his. "When I saw you, something shifted. Something I was taught about but never believed I'd experience, recognition." Marcus felt his heart racing. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said, stepping closer until he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin, "that everything I've studied academically became desperately, achingly real. My people have a word, tide-locked, when one soul recognizes its complement." The space between them had narrowed to nothing. Marcus could see the patterns on her skin pulsing gently with her heartbeat, faster now, matching his own accelerating rhythm. "Lyria," he whispered, "when you locked that door." "It's our way," she said, her lips so close to his he could feel her breath. "An ancient tradition. When we invite someone into our private waters, into our true selves, it's not casual. It's choice. It's forever." Waves of passion. Marcus answered by closing the remaining distance between them, his lips finding hers in a kiss that felt like diving into warm, unknown depths. She responded with a soft sound of relief and longing, her arms wrapping around him as the bioluminescent patterns across her skin flared brighter, casting dancing light across the room like moonlight on water. "I've wanted this," she breathed against his mouth, "since the moment I saw you standing there with wonder in your eyes." Their kisses deepened, growing more urgent as hands explored with reverent curiosity. Marcus traced the glowing patterns along her shoulders, marveling at how they responded to his touch, brightening and swirling like living art. Lyria's fingers trembled as they unbuttoned his shirt, her ocean-deep eyes holding his with such raw vulnerability that he felt something fundamental shift in his chest. They moved together toward the bedroom, a space that seemed to exist between worlds, walls that rippled like water, a bed covered in fabric that felt like silk woven from sea foam. Clothes fell away like shed skins, revealing more of Lyria's extraordinary form. Her body was a masterpiece of curves and grace, her skin glowing softly in intricate patterns that mapped her entire being. She was generous in her beauty, her form both familiar and wonderfully alien. "You're breathtaking," Marcus whispered, his hands spanning her waist, feeling the warmth of her beneath his palms. "And you," she replied, pulling him down to her, "are everything I didn't know I was searching for." Their lovemaking was slow and intense, a conversation without words. Every touch was a question answered, every kiss a promise made. Lyria's luminescence grew brighter with her passion, the patterns on her skin creating a private constellation around them. She guided his hands across her body, teaching him the places that made her gasp, while exploring him with equal hunger. Marcus learned the geography of her, the way she arched when he kissed the hollow of her throat, how her breath caught when his hands worshipped her curves, the musical sounds she made when pleasure overwhelmed her. She was tender and fierce by turns, whispering his name like a sacred invocation, her body moving with his in rhythms that felt both ancient and newly discovered. The glowing patterns beneath her skin pulsed in time with their shared heartbeat, growing more brilliant as their passion crescendoed. When release finally washed over them, it felt like being caught in a beautiful riptide, overwhelming, transformative, leaving them both forever changed. Dawn of forever. Morning light filtered through the unusual windows, casting prismatic patterns across tangled sheets. Marcus woke to find Lyria watching him, her head propped on one hand, her luminescent skin still glowing softly in the dawn. She looked both peaceful and uncertain, her free hand tracing idle patterns on his chest. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "About last night. About what it means." Marcus turned to face her fully, capturing her hand and bringing it to his lips. "Tell me." "On Thalassine, we don't love lightly. Our bonds are deep as ocean trenches, permanent as tides. When I invited you across my threshold, when I locked that door." She paused, vulnerability flooding her features. "It's called the threshold rite. Once we invite someone into our true sanctuary, into our genuine self, and share ourselves completely, the bond is irreversible. You're part of me now, written into my very essence." Marcus should have felt trapped. Instead, he felt liberated. "And if I told you that when I followed you here, some part of me already knew I was choosing something permanent?" Hope bloomed in her ocean eyes. "You're not frightened?" "Terrified," he admitted with a soft laugh. "I've known you for hours, and yet I feel like I've been searching for you my entire life. It defies logic. It breaks every rule of sensible behavior." He pulled her closer, feeling the warmth of her skin against his. "And I've never been more certain of anything." Lyria's kiss was answer and promise, her luminescence brightening until the room glowed like an underwater grotto. When they finally parted, she smiled with pure joy. "My assignment here was supposed to last another year," she said. "I'll need to report what's happened, what I found." Her fingers traced his jawline tenderly. "That human connection isn't just worthy of study, it's utterly transformative. That one of them saw past my strangeness and chose me anyway." "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now," Lyria said, "we build a life together. My world and yours. Gardens that grow impossible things, love that bridges star systems, mornings exactly like this one." She kissed him again, slowly. "I'll teach you about Thalassine. You'll show me how humans create beauty in concrete and steel. We'll be each other's home." Marcus looked around the extraordinary space, at the woman whose very skin glowed with alien wonder, at the future spreading before them like uncharted waters. His old life waited beyond that locked door, familiar, safe, entirely predictable. He had no desire to return to it. "Stay with me," Lyria whispered. "Forever begins today." "Forever began," Marcus corrected, pulling her close, "the moment you closed that door." Outside, the city awakened to an ordinary Sunday. Inside, two souls from different worlds tangled together in sheets that smelled of sea and starlight, writing the first page of an impossible love story that would transcend galaxies. Lessons from beyond the threshold. True connection recognizes no boundaries, not of distance, difference, or the vast spaces between stars. Love requires the courage to step through unknown doorways and trust in what cannot be logically explained. Home is not a place but a person whose presence transforms the ordinary into extraordinary.